Hello, I'm Gary C. Johnson. Lawyers are spending millions of dollars asking you to give them a call. What could I say to you that would make you give us a call? How about the fact I invented the concept of judo law? How about the fact that using judo law, my team set the record for the largest verdict in the state of Kentucky? No other law firm has even come close. How's that for a reason to give us the call?
800-337-4002.
Gary C. Johnson is a personal injury attorney practicing in Pikeville, Hazard, and Central Kentucky. You can reach him at 1-800-337-4002. Life is a journey, and everyone deserves all the happiness that this life has to offer. That's why attorney Gary C. Johnson created a weekly radio program almost 20 years ago to look at ways that we can improve our relationships, our health, and most important, our frame of mind. You know, by having the right information, our choices can be easier, and so can our happiness. Welcome to this edition of Simply Life with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Keith Casebolt back with you, and welcome into the radio program Simply Life. My dear friend, Happy New Year, Gary Johnson.
Happy New Year again. We're here 2021. And we made it. And we probably made a few resolutions along the way.
You think?
But we're going to make a new one that we made a year or so ago. But this is the main one, my friends. This is it. This is the year each and every single one of you are going to learn how to be happy.
And that is profound, because I suspect you're going to tell us it doesn't matter how much money, it doesn't matter what your job is, it doesn't matter where you live or anything else. If you're not happy, then it's all in vain, isn't it?
I picked up this book, The Art of Happiness, by a fellow by the name of Howard Cutler. In the first chapter, I'm going to read you the first paragraph.
Okay.
You ready?
I am.
I believe that the very purpose of our life is to seek happiness. That is clear. Whether one believes in religion or not, whether one believes in this religion or that religion, we are all seeking something better in life. So I think that the very motion of our life is toward happiness. And I agree with that.
The very motion of our life is toward happiness.
And, you know, there's a lot of stuff in this book, but it all comes down to we need to be happy. We need to reframe our thoughts. We need to change how we look at what's going on around us and understand that happiness is a reasonable goal for us, and it is possible.
Now, my friend, what about our listeners and friends that are saying, but Gary, you don't know all the things that are going on in my life. I'm having to deal with money problems, job problems, health issues, family matters. If all of these things were to go away, then I could be happy like you're saying. But I think you're going to tell us we've got to deal with it and be happy anyway.
Let's go over to chapter 2.
Okay.
Where he talks about the sources of happiness so my friends can get some feeling for this, okay? 2 years ago, a friend of mine had an unexpected windfall. 18 months before that time, she had quit her job as a nurse to go to work for two friends who were starting a small healthcare company. The company enjoyed unbelievable success, and within the 18 months, they were bought out by a large conglomerate for a huge sum. Having gotten in on the ground floor of that company, my friend emerged from the buyout dripping with stock options, enough to be able to retire at the age of 32. I saw her not long ago and asked her how she was enjoying her retirement. Well, she said, it's great being able to travel and do the things I've always wanted to do. But it's strange. After I got over all the excitement of making all that money, things kind of returned to normal. I mean, things are different. I bought a new home and stuff, but overall, I don't think I'm any happier than I was before.
Wow.
Now, listen to this one. He gives you alternative to that. Around the same time that my friend was cashing in on her windfall profits, I had another friend of the same age who found out that he was HIV positive. We spoke about how he was dealing with his HIV status. Of course, I was devastated at first, he said, and it took me almost a year to come to terms with the fact that I had the virus. But over the past year, things have changed. I seem to get out more each day than I ever did before, and on a moment-to-moment basis, I live. I feel happier than I ever have. I just seem to appreciate everyday things more, and I am grateful that so far I haven't developed any severe AIDS symptoms, and I can really enjoy the things I have. And even though I'd rather not be HIV positive, I have to admit that in some ways it has transformed my life in positive ways. I am happy.
2 examples. One, the greatest thing that could ever happen to you, a major windfall of money, and yet a year later, the lady was maybe less happy than she was before getting it. The other one, the worst thing that could possibly befall you, a diagnosis of HIV, and yet a year later, the guy was actually happier. Now, that's a little bit strange to deal with because you would think it would be completely the opposite.
Then he says, both of these people illustrate the essential point that happiness is determined more by our state of mind than by external events. Success may result in a temporary feeling of elation, or tragedy may send us into a period of depression, but sooner or later, our overall level of happiness tends to migrate back to that certain baseline.
Now, while you're reading that, the only thing I can think of is you're saying, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, time will tell. And in both of these instances, time has shown that it didn't turn out the way that they thought. You would think the one would be devastated and the other one happy, and it didn't work that way.
And then he goes on to say, so if we tend to return to our characteristic baseline level of happiness, no matter what our external conditions are, good or bad, what determines this baseline? And more important, can it be modified and set to a higher level? Some researchers have recently argued that an individual's characteristic level of happiness or well-being is genetically determined, at least to some degree. I disagree with that. Period. But even if genetic does make up and plays a role in happiness, and the verdict is still out on that, there is a general agreement among all psychologists that no matter what level of happiness we are endowed with by nature, there are steps we can take to work with the mind factor to enhance our feelings of happiness. It's all in our attitude.
That's why you have told me that individuals that come into your office that just almost brings you to tears when you see the shape they're in and things that have happened to them, and yet they have a smile on their face and they're trying to cheer you up.
Right. And it all comes from, my friends, from developing what I call an inner contentment, learning to control the negative emotions that we have in our life. Envy, hatred, jealousy, those emotions will always make us miserable.
So if something comes to you, and I think I know this answer before I ask you, but if something really good happens to you, you still take the attitude, could be good, could be bad, time will tell?
Right.
You don't become overjoyed because you know that this great thing that's happened could in time turn out to be bad? That's a lot of restraint.
Well, we've got to take control of our lives, ourselves. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility, each and every one of you, my friends, your responsibility to determine the level of your happiness.
So back to the person who was saying, I've got all these problems. You're saying you can't control those problems, but you can control how you look at the problems and how you deal with them.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then he goes on in here, he says, you have to also come to grips with your own worth in order to understand how to be happy. I'm going to read you a little bit of what he says about your inner worth. We've seen how working on our mental outlook is a more effective means of achieving happiness than seeking it through external sources such as wealth, position, or even physical health. Another internal source of happiness, closely linked with an inner feeling of contentment, is a sense of self-worth. In describing the most notable basis for developing that sense of self-worth, the Dalai Lama explained, now, in my case, for instance, suppose I had no depth of human feeling, no capacity for easily creating good friends. Without that, when I lost my country, he's talking about the Dalai Lama who lost his country of Tibet to China. When my political authority in Tibet came to an end, becoming a refugee would have been a very difficult. While I was in Tibet, because of the way the political system was set up there was a certain degree of respect given to the office of Dalai Lama, and people related to me accordingly, regardless of whether they had true affection toward me or not. But if that was the only basis of people's relationship toward me, then when I lost my country, it would have been extremely difficult. But there's another source of worth and dignity from which you can relate to other fellow human beings. You can relate to them because you're still a human being within the human community. You share the bond, and that human bond is enough to give rise to the sense of worth and dignity. The bond can become a source of consolation in the event you lose or have lost everything else.
So let me get this right.
Yeah, this is the great leader of contentment, the Dalai Lama.
Mm-hmm.
And what he goes on to say is that the reason he can relate so easily to people is that he understands they are his equal. That when he meets anybody, no matter what their station in life is, he considers them his equal. Now, this is the great renowned religious leader from Tibet. And he said everybody needs to do it that way. That you need to understand that we're all just human beings, that we're all equal, we all have the same worth regardless of what the situation is. And when you treat people and meet them that way, he said you will absolutely, instantly make a bond with them because instinctively they know that too.
And did this also work in the reverse, that once his country had been taken over and he become a refugee, had he not gone out into the world with the inner contentment and self-worth that he was who he was, then the other people he met wouldn't have seen him that way. He would have lost that title and lost the role and that identification of who he was. But he used it in his way of saying, I am worthy of anybody I meet, and anybody that meets me is worthy of me. I think I see where you're going with it.
And he goes on and talks about the decisions we make in life, whether to take one job or another, should be made not on the amount of money or the so-called status we think we're going to have, but on our inner instinct of which job will make me the most happy. In other words, if I do this job, will I be less happy than I would be if I do this other job? He said, always make your decisions in life, no matter what it is, in relation to which will make me the most happy.
Because most people would say, well, if this job pays twice as much, I'll have more money and I can buy me some happiness instead of doing the job that would bring them inner contentment and happiness that paid half the amount of money.
The people that have won the lottery, and like this woman that we use as an example, everyone knows that money will not buy you happiness.
It's an amazing story, the lottery story. I think there's like 10 or 12 of the lottery people that they have told the stories on, and they're horrific. I mean, lost their life, gone bankrupt, died homeless. It did not do the things that you thought would happen.
That they thought would happen.
Yeah, that they thought would happen. Absolutely.
Because happiness is, I guess, unique to the person.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends, if you have something that makes you happy, and I'm not talking pleasure.
There's a difference.
There's a big difference.
Okay.
In other words, if you decide, well, I'm going to have this pleasure, and for that few minutes I'm going to be happy, you have to weigh it. In the long run, will you be more miserable than you would be that few minutes of happiness?
Well, that makes sense. We've all done things for pleasure that ended up costing us in the long run.
Right. You've got to weigh that.
It didn't make us happy.
And make your decisions in terms of what in the long run will make me the most happy. In other words, he's talking about changing our way of thinking and looking at life and try to couch it in terms of understanding that our motion in life is to be happy. And consciously make your decisions in that, because of that, in that way. What is going to make me the most happy?
So it is.
In other words, give you an example. If I get angry and try to get revenge, is that going to make me happy?
Absolutely not.
Right?
Right.
So don't do it.
So the reverse is you forgive.
If I choose to hate someone, is that going to make me happy, or is it going to make me feel bad?
Mm-hmm.
If I decide I'm going to envy someone over something they've done, is that going to make me happy, or is it not going to make me happy? In other words, weigh what you're getting ready to do in terms of which course of action will make me the most happy, and then make your decision.
So this is the one time in life it's okay to be selfish. This is about you. It's about your happiness.
You are in control of your happiness. You cannot make anybody else happy. No matter what they're saying to you, you're not the instrument that's making them happy. Happiness is personal and unique to the person that's seeking the happiness. Now, some people may say, well, it feels good to get angry and mad. It may for a second or two, but the consequences of that anger will make you very miserable in the long run.
Oh, my goodness. How many of us have had that text that we sent to say something back to someone, or that email that we sent, and about 2 minutes later you're like, oh, Lord, I hope it didn't go through.
That's right.
You're 100% right.
So in weighing our actions as human beings, our goal this year is to be happy. So I'm giving my friends some pointers on some things that they may do or think about that will enhance their ability to achieve that goal.
And if I get you right, you're telling us the goal should be to be happy every day, every hour, every minute, not to waste even a minute of it.
Understanding that you're going to have grief come into your life.
Joy and sorrow, yes.
And things of that nature that for a period of time you can't be happy, especially when you lose a loved one. But overall, in the long run, life is for the living. You absolutely need to concentrate and make your decisions, my friend, on what course of action will make me be the most happy. He used an example in this book about this young woman that was offered the job in a different location, in a location she'd always wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
She was a therapist for children where she lived. To take the new job, she would have to be a therapist for adults. They paid more, and it was in the place where she always wanted to live. And this guy asked her, he said, well, why are you having any reservations about the job? And she says, well, I don't think I would be happy working with adults. Therefore, I'm not going to do it because I will be more happy if I continue to stay here and work with the children.
So she balanced the scales. She said, more money, a place I've always wanted to live, but on a daily basis, I'll be dealing with clientele that I don't want to deal with.
And she will lose that happiness that she has in the job she's doing. Now that's smart. That's somebody that's got something on the ball that can figure that out.
Well, what I like about it, instead of going and taking the job and staying there for 2 years and then moving back and being miserable for the 2 years, this lady was smart enough to sit there and do the math.
She instinctively knew that in the long run, our sense of well-being and happiness is the only thing that really matters.
That's the truth, yes.
And it wasn't the more wealth or being more in this other location. It was how would she feel? Not how the neighbor feels or somebody else, but how would she feel each and every day when she gets up and goes to work?
And how would that deal with her patients? Because obviously that's going to affect the people that she's around.
Right, and even if she did a great job in the other job, the issue to her wasn't all of these other things. It was what will make me be the most happy.
You know, my wife and I stopped in for breakfast at a local place, and the lady that was working there was whistling as she was bringing the dishes. She was doing a little whistle. She came over to the table, and there was a jukebox, and she put on this good-feeling music. She brought over the coffee. This lady was a beam of light. And my wife said, it's contagious. Look how happy she is, and she's playing this music, and I'm starting to feel good just being around her. But she obviously was enjoying being with people and doing the job that she was doing.
She was there. But how many times have we talked about how important it is to be there? Be where you are.
And the effect on other people.
You're always, my friends, remember, you're always going to be somewhere.
Yes. Isn't that the truth?
Right? Always.
Yes.
Now the question is, do you make the most of it no matter where you are?
And Gary, you pointed it out. I've been in some beautiful places, but I wasn't with friends or family, and I didn't have a good time. And I've been in some pretty rough places, but I was with friends and family and had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So it is that internal happiness that you're talking about.
And it's a choice. We have to make some choices, my friends. And those choices are simple. Each day you ask me, what I'm getting ready to do today, will it make me happy? If it won't make me happy, how can I change it so that I can do something that will? Now, if I can't change it, how can I figure out to change my attitude about it and be there and have it make me happy?
You know, and I've got an individual that says all the time, you know, Gary's got to understand your surroundings. Your surroundings can rob you of your happiness. I said, Gary understands that. What he's telling you is change your surroundings. And if you can't change them, then learn to like them. Because one way or the other, it's about you being happy.
You're going to be there.
Yes, you might as well have a good time.
So you might as well enjoy it while you're there. And that's the point I'm trying to make to my friends. If you're waiting in line, enjoy it. Talk to people. Hang out.
I told that story the other day because I stepped into a long line, and I said, what a perfect opportunity. I said, when Gary gets in a line like this and he's backed up, he uses it as a chance to meet people, to talk to people, to hear a new joke, and before you know it, the line is gone, and you're on your way.
In a waiting room, since there's social distancing, you probably can't do this now with masks on, but back before then, I would always say, talk to the people in the waiting room. Strike up a conversation, and after a while, the wait is gone.
Yeah, because you find out information, entertainment, Let's talk about that first line that you read from the beginning of this book, because that's going.
I'm going to read it again
Okay,
because it's
good.
too important.
I
okay?
think so too.
As soon as I find it, I'm going to read it. How's
Well,
that? Okay, I got it. This is from this book, The Art of Happiness. It's the first little bitty paragraph. I believe that the very purpose of our life is to seek happiness. That is clear. Whether one believes in religion or not, whether one believes in this religion or that religion, we are all seeking something better in life. So I think the very motion of our life is toward happiness. Remember, the motion of our life should be toward happiness.
So, as we start this new year, whatever comes our way, we need to address it with, how is this going to affect my happiness?
And please, my friends, control your anger. Don't let it take your hatred, your bitterness, all of those things that make you so miserable. Try to control them and get them out of your life. Emotions will kill you. They are destructive, and they will destroy your happiness.
Well, the thing I love about a new year, you get to take the eraser and wipe the chalkboard, and you get to start all over. So Today, we're going to choose to be happy.
It's a redo.
It's a redo. You can tune in to Gary's television show, Simply the Law, on Tuesday nights on WYMT at 7 o'clock. A late-night replay is on your CBS affiliate, WKYT, in Lexington. And if you start your week early at 6:30 a.m. on your Fox affiliate, or to get your weekend started on Friday morning at 6:30 a.m. If you need to get in touch with Gary, Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. My friend, what a great lesson. I'm looking forward to a happy New Year.
Amen.
On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you so much for taking this time to spend with us. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thanks for listening to Simply Life with attorney Gary C. Johnson. If you'd like to reach the Gary C. Johnson Law Firm, you can call 1-800-337-4002. Until next week, may you be safe, healthy, and happy. And most of all, remember that you're unique and a gift from God. If you'd like to receive a podcast of this week's show or any future show, go to GaryCJohnson.com and sign up today. Thanks for listening to Simply Life.
Hello, I'm Gary C. Johnson. Here in the Bluegrass, we look at a team's record to see if it's a good team. Our team has several multi-million-dollar verdicts, and in 2002, our team set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. It's still the record. No other law firm has even come close to it.
GaryCJohnson.com, 800-337-4002.